Okay, first of all, hoping you're all well, and I am a little hoarse, but otherwise I'm okay also, Bez Hashem. And I wanted to discuss an inyan today that's negay all the time, I think especially now that our boys are home. The question is, when can a person make a Zimun, and when can a person make a second Zimun? A typical case, someone answered to one group, can he make a second Zimun? If you want to create a Zimun, you want to give someone to eat something, so you could answer, what's the halachas of Zimun of 3, Zimun of 10, and as we'll see some fascinating shilas as well. But basically, the common denominator is, you want to make a Zimun of 3 or a Zimun of 10, sort of a practical guide of how to proceed. So I think it's important to realize, and I first be magdim, someone asked me a very innocent question. What's the big deal about Hilchas Zimun? You can't go wrong. It's a few Yiddish words that Baisim Velam mentioned, and then Yishem Hashem Avarech Mi'at V'Adalim is a pasuk in Tilim. Can't go wrong with that. We said it in Hallel last week. And Nevarech Shechalnu Mishalai is not even a bracha. And even if you say Nevarech Elokeinu, but it's still not Shemu Malchus. So why the need for a shir? Say it if you want, don't say it if you want. You really can't go wrong. But that's absolutely not true, and especially Daf Yomi Yidin not long ago learned the 7th parak in Brachas. The bulk of it is Hilchais Zimun. Shulchan Aruch devotes no less than 10 simanim, Kuf Tzadik Aleph till Siman Reish, all including Siman Reish, all about Zimun. So obviously it's a lot more than a few Yiddish words. Plus, and this is important, the Gemara in Brachas, Mem Hey Amid Beis, tells a story of 3 Amarayim that ate together, and they were in doubt if they should make a Zimun. So what did they do? They didn't make a Zimun. But then they realized they should have. Should you make Zimun after benching? A whole nidine. What's the big deal? Obviously, Zimun is a big deal. And don't forget, as the Gemara says in Brachas, Daf Mem Hey, in the beginning of Shleisha Sha'achlu, you learn out Zimun from 2 psukim. The pasuk in Parashat Azinu, Kishem Hashem Ekra, Havu Goydal Alekeinu, or the pasuk in Tilim, Gad Lashem Iti Unrem Mishma Yachtav. And the mere fact that the Gemara marshals a pasuk in the Torah leads some Gedalia Paiskim to conclude that Zimun is a Chiyav Daraisa. It's based on a pasuk. There's a fascinating lavush in Kuf Tzadik Tes Siv Ches about an androgynous, a Safik Zach, a Safik Nekeva, if he has a Chiyav Zimun or not. We don't even know his status. And the lavush says, Avadi's Mechoyev, Sveika Daraisa L'chumra. The Chazon Ish in Lamed Aleph in the beginning also holds Zimun's Daraisa, but the Mishnah in Kuf Tzadik Beis Yud Aleph and Sharatzi in Kuf Tzadik Zayin, Tezayin, Kuf Tzadik Tes is of the opinion that Zimun is the Rabbanan. Roiv Shitas, he says, holds the Rabbanan. The Chazon Ish writes, I don't know what he means, Roiv Shitas, but the truth is, a practical nafkamina, whether Zimun's the Rais or the Rabbanan, is, can you be mechaber of a mitzvah boy the night of a mitzvah to bench? Because he's not a gadol d'oraisa yet until he brings simanim. So the Chazon Ish that holds as d'oraisa would not allow a mitzvah boy to bench. And Taka d'Archas Rabbeinu and Aleph Peivav records the minig of the Stipler, who did not allow a mitzvah boy to bench as the mizamein. The minig oilam, we dafka give it to the mitzvah boy. So I could say b'yoidim uvalo yoidim. It seems the minig oilam is to assume, like the Mishnah says, Zimun's the Rabbanan, and a mitzvah boy could bench. But Rabbi say, even if it's only the Rabbanan, you see a whole sugya. Once you ate with an oil, you can't leave. You can't lose the Zimun. We'll learn today you're allowed to create a Zimun. Obviously, it's a lot more than a few Yiddish words. But there's also the flip side. There's a fascinating Chiddush of the Ramah in Kuf Peiches Siv Zayin that has a shaila about adding Yalvayava in a certain case. So the Ramah says, you know what you should do? Put it into a Rachaman. Can't go wrong. But says the Ramah, But no, you can't do that. You can't just say Al V'Yavai if you're in doubt, because since there is Shemus Hashem, it might be a bracha levatala. Fragt the Magen Avram, bracha levatala? In Al V'Yavai there's no bracha. Of course there's Shem Hashem, but there's no bracha. Says the Big Day Yesha, a tremendous yisoid. The Magen Avram is right. Magen Avram says there's no bracha. I Shem Hashem. You're allowed to say a tefillah with Shem Hashem. You're allowed to say on Rosh Hashanah night, Yiratzim Lefanech Hashem Aleikeinu with Shem Hashem. So the Rama says, if you're allowed to say a tchina, why not Yal V'Yavai? Says the Big Day Yesha, Afanar, a beautiful yisoid. Tefillah never backfires. A tefillah is a tefillah. A tchina is a tchina. But if you say something in the context of a bracha, even if there's no Shema Malchus, even if it's just Aleikeinu, that could be a bracha levatala. And one of his rayas, Re'ez Apella, is our Gemara in brachas. The Gemara discusses, the Amorim had a suffix if they should make Zimun. Frag the Big Day should just say it. Was kostet Geld? What are you losing? Says the Big Day Yesha, from this we see a Zimun that was not required, if it has Aleikeinu, could be a bracha levatala. So we have two precedents that even if it's not a typical bracha, if there's Shem Hashem, it could be a bracha levatala. Ya'alav V'Yavai is one, and Zimun is two. So Rabbi said we have, based on a Big Day Yesha, that a Zimun of 10 that was unnecessary could result in a bracha levatala. I should mention the Pri Megadim in Kuf Tzadik Zayin Beis and Eishel Avram also is noita that an unnecessary Zimun with Aleikeinu could sour and become a bracha levatala. So, as is often the case, there's no room for ignorance. Zimun is not just Yiddish words. It's a chi of gomer, the Raisa, the Rabbanon. You can't just skip a Zimun, and you can't say it unless you're sure. Plus, I guess an added incentive, the Avudraham in the beginning of Chelik Beis in the new print, on Shin Samach, he says, Zimun is Shevach Ugdula Labar Yisbarach Shem Bezamnin Umasrim Zeh. We get each other ready. Umizvadim Yachad Lahoida Isloi Ulishabchoi Uleforoi Al Shefa Taivasoi, like it says, Gadu Lashem Iti Unroim Mashma Yachtav. So for a Yid with Yiras Shamayim and Avas Hashem, Zimun's an opportunity of adding a little more Shevach. So Rabbi say, we realize now Zimun is more than meets the eye. Let's apply this Lamaisa. A practical guide, can a Zimun be said or not? So first of all, let's talk about a common shayla. You have two boys at home, and they're about to bench without a Zimun, and the third brother comes. Can they just call him and take him and say, join us? Can they recruit him for a Zimun? What does he have to eat? The same shayla in yeshiva. This is even more common. In yeshiva, hopefully, will be zeicha go to camp this year. It happens all the time. You have 9, and someone just comes. You have 2, someone just comes. So I want to just mention, we discussed this, it was Shir 663, but briefly, there's a Kol Delay Pasuk out there, that in yeshiva there's no Chi of Zimun, which, as we discussed, does not make sense. If we have Baruch eating together, and they're on talking terms, and there is some connection, why can't there be a Zimun? In the olden days, the Baruch ate quickly, they came, they left, they were hit and run, there was not much food in the first place, there was no kfiyas. But today, Baruch Hashem, our B'nai Torah are fed very well. They make a matziv, so to speak, out of a meal. If you ate together in a camp or yeshiva avadia, make zimun. But the question is, if you're missing one, can you recruit someone and join me? If you have 7, can you recruit 3 to make a zimun of asara? So this is a Gemara in Brachas of Mem Zayin. Rav and Shmuel ate together, and they basically were finished, but they didn't have a zimun. Just then Rav Simi came along and started quickly eating. So Rav noticed that he was eating quickly. He goes, what are you rushing? even if you eat, you can't be part of our Zimun, because we finished eating. It's too late. Shmuel heard that, and Shmuel says, I take exception. If they would bring us a dessert, would you be able to eat it? Yeah, I mean, we're not stuffed, we're not holding Achila Gasa, right? So, since you could eat, and me and you still could eat, we did not finish the meal. If so, we can ask Rav Simi to join. So this Gemara is telling us a tremendous chiddush. Even the tail end of a meal, when you already finished eating, if you could still physically eat more, you didn't finish. And the third person can be recruited, given to eat, we'll soon see what foods, and join the Zimun. And Tosfos of Anart points out, even though Rav initially did not seem to agree, but Rav eventually agreed to Shmuel. So Tosfos says, all agree la'alacha, if two finished eating, but they still could eat more, they could make a Zimun, by giving the third person to eat. But Tosfos says there's one exception. If the meal officially ended, because they said, Havlon v'nivrach, let's bench. That's a problem. Because once you said, let's bench, you can't eat anymore. Even if you're hungry. Havlan v'nivrach is a siluk. So Tosfos reasons, if you said Havlan v'nivrach, the two people, Rav and Shmuel, cannot eat. So then you can't join with Rav Simi because you finished eating. So we see two halachas from this story. Number one, you could recruit someone even the tail end of a meal. And 2 + 1 equals Zimun. That's the good news. But Havlan v'nivrach, and we'll soon see Havlan v'nivrach is lav dafka. If you got mayim achreinim, if you filled up a kais, even though rather you don't use a kais for 2, but let's say you had 7 and you want to make 10. But once you filled up the kais to bench, or you use mayim achreinim, the meal is over. But what's more than this, the Rashban Chelik Zayin Siman Nun Vav, based on the Gemara, says that if there's a third person, Zok the Rashba, and I quote the Lashon, Chayavim, there's a chiyuv, litein loy, give him food to complete the zimun. In other words, it's not just a heta to recruit someone else, it's a chiyuv. Now the emes is, why is it a big chiddush? When you have 9 people for davening, what do? Mezuch tatzenta. So if you have 2 people, why not get a third? If you have 7 people, and you could add up to 3 additional people, why not do that? And this is all quoted in Shulchan Aruch Kuf Tzadik Zayin Gimel Aleph. If they didn't say Havlon v'nivrach, they could recruit 1 more for 3, 3 for 10, and Chayavim litein loy. The Mechaber used the lashon of the Rashba. Now I should mention the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Dalet says Lav Dafka Chiyav Mitzvah, but a mitzvah is still a mitzvah. To be Megadim, and Sif Katan Aleph says if they don't want to, they don't have to, but they're not doing correctly. But what to me was surprising, but you see that Zimun is much more than meets the eye. The Bach has an interesting suggestion. Let's say the 2 people already said Havlan v'nivrach. It's too late. Says the Bach, it's never too late. You could go wash, make another maitzi, eat bread, and then bench with this third person. Havlan v'nivrach is the only indication that you finished the meal and you can't eat without a new bracha. So the Bach reasons, so make a new bracha. Create the Chi of Zimun. Pilaployim, But, as the El Yerabah says, and the Achashulchan and Siv Dalet quotes it, that's already Achila Gasa. To eat again, just to make a Zimun, the Achashulchan says, Lo Yishamanu, Mishayal al Das, Lasois Kain. So the Mishnah Berurah does not even quote this Bach. But to me it was inspiring how the Bach longed to make a Zimun. You said Havlan v'nivrach, you can't eat any further with the original bracha, so eat again. Now again, that's not the halacha l'maisa, but it's an incredible insight of how Zimun is indispensable. It's not just, yeah, no, maybe so. You got to know when to say it and when it works. When is it too late to say Zimun? So the Gemara says, as long as the 2 people or the 7 people can still eat. Now, you don't have to eat. It seems klar, I didn't find them first, but it seems klar, there's no chiyuv for the 2 people to eat with the 3rd person. If they still could eat, they didn't finish the meal. The Mishnah Berurah and the Sharatzian quotes, that's the Rambam Shita, that the 2 people have to be able to eat a kolshu, a little bit. They're not mechuyev to be able to eat a kazayas. Okay, the Pri Megadim has a suffix about this, and the Mukar Achaim and Simon Kuf Tzadik Zayin says, I believe you have to be able to eat a kazayas more. But Neman Oleinu, the Mishnah Berurah, B'Shem the Rambam, that the 2 people that just finished, if they could eat a kolshu, they could complete the Zimun. Now again, I might be wrong, so please correct me, but I didn't find Mefurish, but it seems very sensible that the 2 people don't have to actually eat. As long as they are capable, physically able to eat, they could join with the 3rd person. And that's why I saw the Aruch HaShulchan in the beginning of Kuf Tzadik Zayin, quoting Rosh and Tur, he says it's almost never that you can't make a Zimun now. Because which 2 people don't eat until they're busting, they can't even eat another kolshu. So it makes sense, mitzad the 2 people or the 7 people, it's almost always that they could eat a little more, and therefore they could create a Zimun. The only problem, which is most common, if the 2 people said Havlan v'nivrach, or they filled up the kais, or they brought Ma'im Rechainim, all that is a form of Havlan v'nivrach. Now I want to mention, if you learn the sugi, you'll realize this. We say Rabbi Yisrael and benching, that's part of benching. Of course that's a silik. This halacha, Havlan v'nivrach, is not Rabbi Yisrael benching, because they only have 2 people. This is saying, let's bench. Let's bench is enough of a silik. So this is basically as far as the 2 people or the 7 people, basically they could always recruit someone else. Now let's discuss the halachas for that additional person that's joining. So the question is, first of all, what does that mean you're supposed to create a Zimun? If I only have 2 people, I'm eating breakfast, me and my son, I should go in the street and cry out, Adrita, Adrita. If I have 7, I have to go to the street. So the Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat and Aleph says, if you find someone haroitz lechal ulitztaraf imohem, do it. What that sounds like is, you have 2 brothers ate at home breakfast, and as they're about to bench, they didn't say Havlan v'nivrach, the 3rd brother comes. Oh, that's very good. Roitz lechal ulitztaraf. But do you have to go looking for a 3rd? From the Mishnah Berurah is not mashma so. But the Mishnah Berurah and Kuf Tzadik Zayin, Sifkat and Zayin, and Yud Aleph is mashma, yes. If you could get someone else, be proactive and get someone else. Now, I must mention, you don't have to actually go into the street and recruit a 3rd or 8, 9, and 10. Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat and Zayin says, if someone's in the house, try to get him. Now, of course, it has to be reasonable, but if you have someone available, I'll give you a very simple example. 2 brachim are about to bench, and a 3rd bracha sits down. So, good. Wait for him. Wait till he eats a kazayis, we'll soon see. And then you could have a Zimun. Why not create a Zimun? The question is, this 3rd person, what does he have to eat, and how much does he have to eat to create the Zimun? So here I'll tell you, which is a Mechaber and Shulchan Aruch, Kuf Tzadik Zayin, Siv Gimel, the Mechaber makes a distinction. If you have 7 people that want to bench, you could get 3 people, give them any food, give them a an egg, that's a kazayis, and then you can make a zimun. For 10, the additional 3 could eat any food. But says the Mechaba, if you're only 2 and you want to complete a zimun of 3, the third person has to actually wash and eat a kazayis of bread. Now we would think Ibcha Mustafa, 10 people is a Shem Hashem. Which the Berurah explains. If you don't have a zimun yet, how could you mitzvah someone that ate an egg? If you have 7 already, you just need 10 people. Alekenu, minyan. Any food is good. So according to the Mechaba, if you have 7 people, give 3 people anything, any food, a piece of cake, an egg, a vegetable, fine. But to make a zimun of 3, the third has to wash. The Mechaba in Kuf Tzadik Zayin Gimel says, some say Mezainis is good for the third, and some say any food. But the Mechaba Paskins don't create such a zimun that's in doubt. If you have a third person that's willing to wash and eat bread, gesundheit. If you only will eat an egg, moichel taibis, don't make the zimun. But the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat and Chav Beis says the minig ha'olam is like the last shita. If the third person eats any food, you could make the zimun. So to put this practically, you have 2 boys at home, they're eating breakfast and they're about to bench, a third brother comes, halacha, you give him an egg, a bowl of cereal, let him eat a kazayis, and you can make a zimun. What's a bigger chiddush, what we just learned, if you have 2 boys at home or 2 boys yeshiva that are about to bench, they have no zimun, they should call someone, the brother from upstairs, who's not even planning on eating. Be mechaber him with a kazayis of food, create the zimun, give him an egg is a kazayis, probably an egg is a double kazayis, but an egg is kazayis, and create the zimun. This is also very negeya. 2 people are home, and a third person comes to visit. Be mechaber him, not just as the kibud, but create the chiv of zimun. A family of 7 are going to a Shalom Zacha, and 3 people came to meet them and walk together. Oh, that's a grand opportunity. The 3 people, you don't have to give them bread, l'chol days. Give them a bit of food, the kazayis of food, and then you can make a zimun talekenu, even according to the Mechaba. Here, I must stress, the people that you are recruiting to create the zimun must eat a kazayis. Unlike the previous case, where the 2 original people, we said, have to be able to eat a kol shehu. But here, to make a zimun, the additional people have to eat and have to eat a kazayis. You look in the Magen Avram, Sivkat Nei, it's also Lavush, Sivkat and Gimel, says Beferish, the people that you're adding have to eat a kazayis. And the hezbollah is very pashut. The previous halacha, when the 2 people finished, they're not eating anymore. They don't have to eat. They have to be able to eat. So then, the ability is enough, but you don't have to eat. Here, it's a fundamentally different halacha. You want to join someone to join you and say shachalnu mishaloi. No, we know the taich of the word achila is a kazayis. We just had the Yom Tov Pesach. Be'erev teichlu matzos, stam achila is a kazayis. So this halacha to have a third person join, or 8, 9, and 10 join a minyan of 10, not enough, they could eat, no migui. They have to actually eat a kazayis of food. The next question is, fine, you give them an egg, or I guess a piece of cake, and they made a bracha chreina. Okay, let's bench. That's too late. You blew it. Because dafka don't make the bracha chreina. This third person that ate a kazayis, his claim to fame is, he ate with you. If he makes the bracha chreina, then he's finished. So he can't join. So as Mishnah Berurah says, Zivkan Tezvav, give him a kazayis, tell him not to make a bracha chreina. In fact, as it seems from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, actually Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is Beferish Mem Hey Yud. The Rav Shulchan Aruch in Sifei, it seems to also say this. The best thing would be give him a kazayis to eat, let him listen to the Zimun, answer, wait till Azanas HaKoyel, that completes the Zimun, and then he makes his Bar Nefashas or Ala Michya. Because we should be chayshit that till Azan is part of the Zimun, so let him actually partake in the Zimun. Now, for a Zimun of 10, let's say you have 7, you're allowed to add 3 people, and all they have to eat is a kazayis of food that we saw. But again, here too, don't make a bracha achrayna. Mr. Brewer and Sivka and Tess says explicitly, if the person that you want to add made a bracha achrayna, it's too late. We once had a shayla, they mechabat someone to eat cake and soda. He already made an ala michi, and they chabad, hey, what are you doing? Don't make a bar nefashis. But is it too late? Because he already made an ala michi. The answer is no. As long as he is still connected with the drink, or the bar nefashis, even though he officially stopped eating, but then again, he has a chiyuv bracha achrayna, that would be enough. A big question I wanted to clarify is generally, when someone joins or you recruit him, he already finished eating, he's not interested in eating. He's not going to have a piece of cake, he's not going to wash. Is it enough to just give him a drink? On a hot summer day, give him a cup of cold soda, seltzer, spring water, coffee or tea, juice, soda. So the emes is, there are 2 questions. Is drink also mitzdarif? And which drinks? So the emes is, once the ik is she'achalnu, l'chayra, drinking is also part of achila. But then again, don't forget, regarding the zimun of 3, the mechabos, he has to eat bread. Okay, we're makel, but don't push it. Maybe drinks is not enough. So this is our shayla. Can you mitzarv someone that drank as opposed to eating? And if yes, is it any beverage? So listen to a fascinating sugya. Toisvis in Brachis Memches Demaskal Tisha, where the Gemara says if the third person ate, ate a food, you mitzarv him. Zok Toisvis hu adin shtia bechlal achila. So Taisus clearly says to make a zimun, the 3rd or 8th, 9th, 10th don't have to eat. Drinking is also good. Why? Because since the ik is baruch she'achalnu mishaloi, that's the objective, we're trying to get to that. Shtiya bechlal achila. But Taisus' lashon is, if he ate or drank a kais of wine, kais yayin, mitzdarif, because you could say shachalnu mishaloi. Now that is very tricky, because maybe Tosfos Dafka is speaking about wine. Wine, besides being very chashiv, the Gemara says in Brachis, yayin is soyed, is saveya. Maybe wine is considered shachalnu mishaloi. Who said a cup of soda is good? For that we have a Beis Yosef. But listen how as the plot thickens. Zok the Beis Yosef in Siman Kuf Tzadik Zayin de Maskul Venera. Even though Tosfos says wine, lav dafka wine, any mashka is good. Chutz min hamayim, water doesn't help, but apple cider helps. L'mashal, and he sends you to Erevin, the Mishnah Erevin, daf chavav mamid beis. Now, what's going on here? Let me share with you the beauty of this sugya. Tosfos, the Beis Yosef, seems to hold, since the objective is to this third person can say she'achalnu mishaloi, any drink is good, because stam achila, shtia b'chlal achila. But you need a food that's zon, that has nourishment. Water, of all the drinks, has no nutritional benefit, 0 calories. And Beis Yosef sends you to Erevin Chavav Beis that we see the water is not good. Not Lagabi Hilchas Zimun, Lagabi Erevin. The Mishnah says you could make an Erev Tchumen with any food except for water and salt, because they're not zon. So the Beis Yosef applies that to Hilchas Zimun. Since Zimun is all about Hazon Esakoyel, you eat a food that's nourishing. The Mishnah says in Erevin, water is not nourishing. So the Beis Yosef seems to say, Lav Dafka wine, any beverage except for water. And this is gepaskint in Shulchan Aruch, Kuf Tzadik Zayin, Beis, any food, for 10 that is, and for us, any food for 3 even, any drink except water. Comes again the Magen Avram. Magen Avram says, I don't agree to this Mechaba. He says, we find that even water is considered achila. And he sends you to Yeridei Reish Lamed Ches Siv Beis. Someone made a neder not to eat. He can't eat, and he can't even drink water, because Shtiyas Mayim is B'chlal Achila. Says the Magen Avram, since the objective is to be able to say Shachalnu Mishaloi, why can't water be good? And then he says, more so, since the Mekar is Toisvis, and Toisvis is Shtiyah B'chlal Achila, what gives you the right to say water is different? So now we have, I guess I could say, he concludes, therefore I believe water is good, not like the Shulchan Aruch. Now I think we should be a little confused. The Beis Yosef says water is not good and sends you to Hilchas Erevin. The Magen Avram says water is good and sends you to Hilchas Nedarim. And to make this a little more exciting, how about Hilchas Tainis? You're not allowed to eat in a Tainis, and you can't even drink water. So obviously drinking is water is b'chal achila. So now we're confused. The Beis Yosef points you to Hilchas Erevin. Magen Avram points you to Hilchas Tainis, or we said Tainis, he said Nedarim. And also, what's the ikka? Shachalnu or Hazon? Comes again the big dayesh of an art. Says the Beis Yosef is right. Magen Avram is not right. Why? Listen to his svar. Really, water is not a form of achila. There's no zon. In Hilchas Nedarim, when you made a neder not to eat, you can't drink water, because the neder is he wants to have some self-afflicted pain. L'tzurei nafshei. He wants to create a tikkun, so a self-imposed pain. So if you want to feel the fast and you drink water, you won't feel the fast. So regarding Nedarim, and I guess we can add regarding Tainis, water is included. But, says the Big Dayesha, for Zimun, it's all about Zon. Hazon Esakoyel. If so, water is not a form of Achila regarding Zimun. Now, so he paskins like the Mechaba, not like the Magen Avram. But Rabbi said we could do better. Shemus chinaf shechem. Comes again the Chemed Moshe of an art, and he says a beautiful yisoid. What's going on here? The Beis Yosef says water is not good. Zon. Magen Avram says water is good. Shechalnu. Says the Chemed Moshe is beautiful. Daf Yomi just learned brachas not long ago. There's a famous machlokes gemara. Ad heichon birchas Zimun. Where does Zimun go to? Does Zimun conclude with the words Shachalnu mishalayuv tuvai chayinu? Is that the end of Zimun? Or does it go to Hazon Esakoyel? Says the Chemed Moshe, if you hold Zimun goes until Hazon Esakoyel, so the part of Zimun is Zon. Water is not Zon. That's why the Beis Yosef says water is not good. But if you hold Zimun goes till Shachalnu mishaloi, So the only criterion is shachalnu, not as anas hakoil. So he says that's why the Paiskim go with the Ramah. The Ramah Paskin Zimun goes till shachalnu mishaloi, and therefore we could understand. The Magen Avraham held like that shita shachalnu mishaloi, and therefore is the end of Zimun, and therefore water is perfectly acceptable. The Ramah in Siman Reish Sif Beis Paskins Zimun goes to Azanas HaKoil. Therefore, l'alacha, water is not good. So the machshayla, is water good for Zimun, is telling the old shayla where does Zimun go to. But he does admit that there's one major problem, because the Machaba Paskins that Zimun goes till Shachalnu Mishaloi. According to his thesis, water should be good. But the same Machaba Bayas just said that water is not good. So he says the Machaba Shita I can't figure out, but Allah Lamaisa, Ramah is our Shita, and therefore we go not like the Magen Avraham, we hold water cannot count. Now Lamaisa, the Mishnah Berurah does quote both days. When you look at the Lashon, it's very clear that he paskins like the Machaba. Water is not good. I should mention the Magen Giborim of Anart also discusses this Shaila, and he says for a different reason water is not good. He says because the Chiva benching is V'achalta v'savata v'irachta. And basically, as he says it, water is not Svia. There's no Svia in water. So he's coming from a different angle, but V'achalta, V'savata, U'v'irachta does not include water, and that's probably why the Mishnah Berurah, because he saw the Big Yesha, he saw the Magen Giborim. So we could say the following: wine is surely lav dafka, but any mashka except for water. So now we go a step further, which really I found very intriguing. Water is not good, other mashkas is good. How about typical mashkas that are basically water? Seltzer, coffee and tea is ikrei mayim, soda. In other words, if you have orange juice, 100% pure orange juice, that's pure orange juice, that's a mashka. Apple cider. But let's say you have soda, that's mostly water. So let me explain, let me share with you what I found, a beautiful inyan. The Mishnah in Brachis says if someone drinks water and he's not thirsty, there's no bracha. Why? Because water has no nutritional benefit and no inherent taste. If you're thirsty and drink water, Avadi make a bracha. But if you take water to get down a pill, there's no bracha on the water. And that's pashit, that even the Magen Avraham that holds water is good, says the Bialacha in Reish Daled, Sif Zayin, I'm sorry. Even the Magen Avraham holds water is good. If you're not thirsty and you're just drinking the water to make a zimun, you don't count. Because you don't make a bracha on it, there's no bracha chrein in it, and ikachas min ha-seifa. But let's say you enjoy the water. Magen Avraham says it's good. We paskin it's not good. Oh, now let's say you take a cup of seltzer or spring water or soda to swallow a pill. So this we once discussed. This is a beautiful inyan. Some say seltzer has taste. It's like soda. And it's a beverage, even if you're taking it to swallow a pill. Because seltzer, and some say spring water, has a taste. It's only water that's tasteless and has no nutritional benefit. Now, many places say, what are you talking about? If you don't enjoy the taste of water, so why is seltzer better? And certainly spring water, there are some cynics that will swear, if you take tap water and put it into the spring water bottle and give it to a, quote, a discerning taste, he'll say, oh, this is spring water. They think they can take a difference, but Lamaisa, is there a difference? Anyhow. But here's what I want to say, a chiddush. Even if you hold in Hilchas Brachas that you make a bracha on spring water and seltzer, even if you're not thirsty because it has a taste, that's regarding Hilchas Brachas, where the deciding factor is Hana. So you could say seltzer has Hana, but Lagabe Zimun, the deciding factor is Zon. Seltzer is plain water. Spring water, mineral water is plain water. Who cares that it has a taste and you make a bracha? There's no Zon. So it comes out that seltzer and spring water, even if you make a bracha in all situations, will not be good for Zimun. Now someone asked me, but club soda has salt in it. I told him, good. You made it to a Mishnah. The two things that have no Zon is Mayim and Melach. So if your assumption is right, that club soda is water with salt, with sodium, it doesn't count. Now, if this is true, which I think it is, we could advance that chiddush one step further. You give someone a cup of diet soda that has big bold letters, 0 calories. That also doesn't work. Because if there's no calories, there's no nutritional benefit. So regarding Hilchas Brachas, of course, diet soda, you make a bracha in all situations. It has a taste. But regarding Zimun, seltzer, spring water, and even diet soda does not count. The next question is, how about coffee and tea? There is some ingredients to it. Okay, it's not a kazayas of tea, but maybe it's considered a tea, a new mitzius. Lamaisa, since this is very negeya, tea, coffee, soda, powder drink, we used to call it Kool-Aid, that's ikrei mayim, but there's some food stuff to it. So I looked into this and I want to share with you what I found. The Aruch HaShulchan and Kuf Tzadik Zayin, hey, paskins like the Machaba, not the Magen Avraham, water is not good, and therefore he says, but any drink that has chashivas ktsas is good. Therefore, if you drink mayim misukanim, improved water, k'moy seltzer, lemonade, or minei kvasim. Now, minei kvasim, kuf, that's a Yiddish word, kuf vav vav, aleph samach yud nun, is a wheat drink. I'm not sure what it was, but that's what they had, a wheat drink. You mitzdaref him to the zimun. Seltzer, lemonade, and make kvasim. Now this is very understandable, because lemonade and make kvasim has some ingredients that are seveya. According to the Aruch HaShulchan, coffee and tea presumably is also good, maybe even better, because it's a chashva drink. But the pellet to me was, his first example is seltzer. Seltzer is plain water, we said. So maybe the Aruch HaShulchan held, since it's misukan, it's prepared, it's better. But the emphasis, I seem to remember, and I verified this with people, that Amol Gezeiten, the word seltzer, was a word used for carbonated beverage. Soda was called seltzer, because it had the carbonation. So it's more likely the Aruch HaShulchan seltzer is our soda. Then it stems beautifully. Seltzer is soda, lemonade, make kvasim, are all good for zimun. Okay, now we have to add, even though there's no kazayas of ingredients, but this cup of soda became soda. It's a kazayas of soda, or a revius of soda, I should say, and you're allowed to add them to zimun. Good. According to this, a tea or a coffee could be even better. Besides being some amashes, it's also chashuv. It's not chashuvim k'tzas, it's chashuvim. The only drawback with coffee and tea is if you don't make a bracha chreina on hot drinks like the Mishnah Berurah Psak, then you can't be counted to zimun. The aleph is you have to make a bracha chreina. So either you'll drink it quickly or you'll wait till it cools off. But l'chayr like the Aruch HaShulchan, coffee, tea, soda, juice is good. I looked a little further. There's a Marshag in Chelik Beis, Siman Kuf Pei. He was asked about if someone drinks soda vasa, he writes, does he count to the zimun? So the Marshak says no, because soda vasa is plain water, regular water, and it doesn't count. So he says if it's plain water, it's not zon. But then he adds, and listen to this, he says, when can you count something to zimun? When there's some ingredients in it. And then he quotes the Aruch HaShulchan, that lemonade and make kvasim is good. So, Zakti Marshad, okay, I'll accept the Aruch HaShulchan. But soda vasa is plain water and can count. I was once again confused. If he accepts the Aruch HaShulchan that lemonade is good, why isn't soda good? Oh, so here again I'll tell you something that I verified, that soda vasa is not the soda of today. Soda vasa was seltzer. In fact, in Eretz Yisrael today, soda is seltzer. The Marshag seems to agree to the Aruch HaShulchan that lemonade, make kvasim, and soda of today is good. His soda vasa is like he himself says, mayim, seltzer. So it comes out a little funny. The Aruch HaShulchan says seltzer, but he means our soda. The Marshag says soda vasa, but he means seltzer. But I think Lamaisa Shalom Al Yisrael, seltzer doesn't work. It's ikrei mayim, and as a diet soda shouldn't work. But regular soda and lemonade and coffee and tea should be good. Then I saw the Maritz, Beis Dushinsky, in the Tshuva Simon Chaf Aleph. He was asked if you can mitzvah someone that drinks coffee and tea. The bulk of his tshuva is that there is a bracha achrayna on coffee and tea, not like the Mishnah Berurah sack. But then he says, but wait a minute, isn't coffee and tea ikrei mayim? So he says a very unique reasoning. He says, if you cook vegetables with water, the bracha is bar pi adama, make kvashos. So he says, coffee and tea are like vegetables cooked in water. And maybe she didn't make adama on coffee or tea, he says. It's not the minig. But he says that coffee and tea is like a food, like a vegetable soup. And avada, it's counted into zimun. So I think we're comfortable to say water, seltzer, spring water, diet soda does not work to mitzvah for zimun. But coffee and tea, cider, apple juice, and even soda, although it's ikrei mayim, but we saw Marshag, Aruch HaShulchan, and Maritz, and other poskim. The Or L'Tzion, Rabbi Tzina Abba Sholem, Memvav Lamed Beis, he says only drinks mitz tivi, which would be something like orange juice, or cider that's pure juice counts. But anything that's coffee and tea is ikrei mayim. Okay? That's what he says. But as we showed, most poskim seem to be mekel. And I think we could say that, especially, as we said earlier, even the Magen Avram holds even water is good. So we're not saimach on that. But definitely, if you have a drink that has something to it, that we could count. Now you might say fakert, but then again, Machaber says for a zimun of 3, you have to eat bread. So why use a drink? Okay, but we paskin for a zimun of 3, you could count other beverages. And Lamaisa, the Shulchan Aruch and Taisa says shar mashka chutz mi mayim. So soda, tea and coffee is not mayim. The only thing I must mention, again, if you use a hot drink, make sure you end up with a burn nefashos. Either you go with the shitas you make on hot, or you drink slowly. One last group of questions I want to mention. When someone answered, when could he answer a second time? I'll tell you, the Ber Moshe, the Betzina Rav, and Chelik Gimel Siman Lam. Gimel has the following shaila. He says there are 2 boys that they ate with their father. I think it was supper, and then the father went to the shir. So the boys stopped their suda and they answered the zimun of the father. The father went to learn. The grandfather joined them, and then they wanted to make another Zimun after they all ate. So they made a Zimun. The father came home from the Debatzina Rav Shir. This is a true story. And he found out what happened. He goes, I heard from the Rav, Debatzina Rav in the Shir, you can't join a second Zimun. You already answered to me. You can't answer for Zaidi. So who's right? When can you answer a second time? So again, Rabbi say, since Zimun is not just a few Yiddish words, it's a chiyuv, which could turn into a bracha of atala. We have to learn the sugya properly. So I'm going to use one mashal to make it easy, and the name Ruvain. I don't like using the name Ruvain because Ruvain dies, Ruvain fell to Yibum, but this is a happy story. A typical case. Two people ate, and they wanted to make a Zimun, so they recruited Ruvain. They gave Ruvain a kazayas, and he answered. Good. Now Ruvain is sitting there, and two other people start eating. New people. Can they also recruit Ruvain and give him a kazayas, and he can answer twice? So in Svara, why not? You could say Kedusha as much as you Zaycha to say. Why can you make mitzaref to two Zimuns? But the fundamental chiluk is, Kedusha is a din of minyan. So answer a second time. But Zimun is totally in Achila. How could you answer a second time? Oh, I understand. So what's the problem? Ruvain, eat another kazayas. So we could say, yes, if Ruvain answered once, and now he wants to answer a second time, as long as he ate a kazayas, he's qualified to answer. And that's the sheet of the Torah in the end of Siman Reish. Very brief. They asked the Rosh, can he answer a second time? And his answer was, yes. Zok the Bach, Mamash our case. He answered to group number one. He can answer to group number two. Why? Why not? Then the Bach adds an important point that we must clarify. Says the Bach, the Gemara has the following shaila, that sometimes Porach Zimun Minayu, you can't answer a second time. Now I'll read you the Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch and Kuf Tzad Gimel Hey. I'll tell you the story of the Shulchan Aruch, and again we'll use Ruvain as an example. There were three groups that ate separately, and they all had a Ruvain, and Ruvain is going to be a lot of miles from Ruvain, and they all answered. The three groups made a Zimun, but the three Ruvains are slow eaters. They have very much in common. And they joined together. And they ate, and they completed their meal. Can the three Ruvains, now that they're together, and they ate together, a kazayas or more, can they make a Zimun? So the Mechaba, based on a Gemara, you'll learn the Gemara, you'll see it's a Gemara, that's Parach Zimun Minayu. These three Ruvains were all Agazimun. They already made a Zimun. So the Bach is asking on himself, so 1 second. So how could I say Ruvain could answer once and a second time? The Gemara says, Parach Zimun Minayu. Zogt the Bach is Pashit. In the case that the three Ruvains, they all answered Zimun to a group, and there's no new people. It's the same old three Ruvains. You people are Agazimun. But our case, Ruvain answered to Pliny and Almighty. Now, Shimon and Levi came along. A new chiyuv they could answer. So the critical factor is there a new mechayiv, a new group of two? Then Ruvain could answer to one, to a second, and even a third, says the Bach. But if there's no bulk, if there's no basis of new chiyuv, it's the same Ruvain and Ruvain that got together. That's Parach Zimun. Now let me give you one example, and then we'll apply this Lamaisa that will crystallize this whole Yesod. Imagine the same case. You have three Ruvains, part of three groups. Same story. We make it very simple. But they didn't eat with their groups. They ate a kazayas just to make a zimun. So you have three Ruvains, they're very similar, as you could see. They all ate a kazayas, an egg. And they made three zimuns. Then they got together, they said, hey, we're still hungry. All I had is a kazayas. They sat down and they washed. Can they make a zimun at the end of the meal? Says the Kaf HaChaim, Sivkot and Chavav, absolutely, why not? They already answered. They answered as a third person. But now they're making a new zimun, a new achila. They're not just continuing, they're making a new achila. The point is you need a new mechayev to answer a second time. So to apply this lemaisa, let me tell you the following beautiful shaila. Consider you have 6 people that ate together. 2 have to go. So Ruvain, he's always doing a mitzvah, Ruvain answers to them. And they go. Now you have 3 people left. And one of them doesn't want to bench, doesn't want to answer. Can Ruvain answer to this other group of 3? Says the Yerabba and Levush Yisra, the Kaf HaChaim, Sivkot and Vav quotes this, absolutely. Why? Teretz is beautiful. Because the 3 that were remaining didn't make Zimun yet. They're new people. So they have a Chi of Zimun. So Ruvain could answer to the first group of 2, and then to the group of 3. They want Yoy to Zimun with the 2. If there's only 5, and Ruvain answered to the bulk of them, so the whole group is agapattered. But since you have a surviving group of 3 after Ruvain answered, they create the chiyuv. So Ruvain can answer to one group and to a second group. But wait, we haven't seen anything yet. I'll show you a kunz. Let's say the initial group was 8. Okay? 2 people had to go, so good old Ruvain answered. Then 2 new people had to bench. Good old Ruvain's allowed to answer. Because they were, after he finished with the first group, there were 5 remainers. Okay, so Ruvain can answer to the second group. Now, he's left with 3 more. Ruvain can answer a third time. As long as you have a remaining surviving group of 3, Ruvain can answer. 2, then to 2 more, and then to 3. It adds up to 8. And Re'ezeh Pella, the Magen Avram says if Ruvain answered to a group of 5, including himself, he can't answer a second time. But 7 and 8, he could answer a second time. Zok Levush Yisrod, 7 or 8 is lav dafka. Because if he began with 8, he can answer 3 times. But 7, he can only answer a second time. So it came out to me a little of a chiddush, that really, the Magen Avram should have said 6 or 8. 6 he could answer a second time, and 8 he could answer a third time. And the Levush Yisra Taka wonders why the Magen Avram chapped on 7 or 8. 7 is like 6, he could answer twice. 8, he could answer a third time. But what's interesting is, let's say he had a zimun of altogether 5 people. So that is the Ferish and Halacha. Ruvain answered once, he can answer a second time. Because they were Yoitza Parach Zimun Minayu. Zokt the Even HaOizer on the back of the Shulchan Aruch and the Chazon Ish and Lamed Aleph, Sivkan, they quote passing this. If the 2 people ate more, they created a new chiyuv, and then Ruvain could answer to the second group, even though they're Parachas Ziminayu. The Mishnah Berurah in Sivkot and Siman Rei, Sivkot and Tes does not agree, and I understand why. Because Lamaisi you were Yoitza Zimun. New Achil doesn't make a new Chiyuv Zimun. It's you're allowed to answer. But once you were Yoitza with the first Zimun, Zok the Mishnah Berurah, once they were Yoitza, eating more does not help. Question, tricky question. You have a group of 3. 2 people want to continue eating, and 1 has to go. So Allah is not mechuyev to stop, but decide to be a nice guy. And the 2 stopped for him. Now he left, and you have 2 people, and good old Ruvain came out of nowhere and wants to join. Can Ruvain join to these 2 people? And if I say it's Masik Midvash, the answer is no. That's Parach Zimun. The two people, the bulk, already answered. And that's Beferish the Rav in Siman Reish, Sif Bey says this halach. The Ber Moshe's question, Taka, we understand. Once they answered, the Einikoch answered to the father, Parach Zimun, they can't answer to the Zayda. The big chiddush that the Magen Avram in Siman Reish, Mr. Brewer quotes this is, when you answer, all 10 answered to a Zimun of 10, and then they went back to eating, they can make another Zimun of 3. What do you mean? You already answered. So this is the Magen Avram's big chiddush, that if you answered a Zimun, you were Yoitz Zimun. If you answered just to make Elokeinu, to have Kol Be'asar Shchinta Sharia, you weren't necessarily Yoitz Zimun, you were Yoitz Shem Hashem. So you were not Yoitz Zimun. The 3 people that answered for the 10 were Yoitz Shem Hashem. They could make a Zimun of 3. Now, of course, what you could do is answer to the Zimun of Asar and have a mind to be Yoitz Zimun also. Then you can't make another Zimun. And let me leave you with 3 interesting questions, which really one leads to the other. You had 3 people or 10 people that had a Chi of Zimun. They were so absent-minded, they just benched without Zimun. Can you make Zimun after benching? Especially now we learned it's a mitzvah, cheshuva, the raisa, the rabbanon. So the Mechaber in the beginning of Kuf Tzadik Dalet says it doesn't make sense. Zimun is an achana for benching. After you benched, it's too late. Okay, good. Next question. It happens quite often. You had a minyan of 10, but the person was absent-minded, the mezamint, and the varach shechal mishaloi. And the Ram said, Baruch Shechal Mishalei V'Tvay Chayinu. And then, oy. So this is the Shulchan Aruch in Kuf Tzadik Beis at the end. Once you were benched with Zimun, you can't make another one of Elokeinu. You were Yoitz Zimun. You were on Yoitz Elokeinu, Fafalim. Now listen to the third Shaila. 3 people ate together on Shabbos, or Yom Tov. And they all 3 forgot to say Ya'alav V'Yavai or Ritzei when it's Ma'akiv. So they all have to bench over. Says the Mechaber in Kuf Peiches Sif Tes, they all have to bench over, but they don't make another Zimun. Because Zimun you were Yoitza. Especially if you hold the benching also, you were Yoitza benching, just you're missing an Askara. But without that, you were Yoitza benching, Yoitza Zimun. Benching, you have to bench over. But what's beautiful, the Ktei says, Shulchan and Mem Hei Lamed Zayin says, is Mashman Lashon HaShulchan Aruch, that let's say they were really forgetful. Not only they forgot to say Ya'alav V'Yavai or Ritzei, but they forgot to make a Zimun. And then they made 2 mistakes. It's possible that they could bench over and now make a Zimun. But l'chayr, this is totally in the old Shaila. If you hold without Askara, you're Yoitza, just you're missing Askara, I'm not so sure they could make a Zimun again. But let's chazor, we learned today, Be'ez Hashem, Zimun is a lot more than Yiddish words. Some say it's the Raisa, it's at least the Rabbanon, it's a Chiyuv, you try to create an opportunity. If there's no Chiyuv, and you say it, it's a Bracha Levatala. If you have 2 instead of 3, or 7 instead of 10, give someone to eat, ideally bread, but halacha, any food is good. If you already said Havlon V'Nivrach, or you got my Mechainim, or you got ready to bench and you clearly has Chadas, it's too late. But if you didn't say that yet, a Kazayis is enough. Lav Dafko, eating, drinking, any drink we said except for water, seltzer, spring water, or diet soda, any water, any drink that's Saveya, soda, juice, coffee, and tea, if there's a Bracha Achrayna that is. You could answer a second time if there's a new Mechayiv. You could even answer up to 3 times or more, as long as there's a bulk Mechayiv. When do we say Parach and Zimun Minayu? When the person actually, the bulk made a Zimun. If you have 8 people, then our Ruvain could make 3 times Zimun. 6 people, he can make 2 Zimuns. And as we said, if you forgot to make a Zimun, or you forgot to say Elokeinu, it's too late. And if you bench without Ya'alav V'Yavai, you have to repeat benching, but a Zimun is not repeated. Thank you all for listening, and have a wonderful week.